is that time again for another fresh episode of War Setup. Hope you guys have your drinks or your snacks, sit back and relax. We got another banger episode for you, so let's set up wars begin. Does your PC run slower than dial-up internet? Well, it might not be the hardware that's slowing it down. It might be your operating system instead. Windows 11 is known to slow down your system's performance and responsiveness. Well, that's exactly where Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC comes in. Designed for enterprise-level stability and high-performance environments, it removes unnecessary bloatware, background processes, and pre-installed apps, delivering a lighter, cleaner system focused purely on performance and productivity. On top of that, it comes with official long-term support until 2032, offering far greater security and stability than standard Windows versions. It's ideal for anyone who needs a reliable system for long-term study and work use. Now with the back-to-school promotion, you can head over to VIP or cdkey.com and get Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC for just $19, making it an easy upgrade for your study and work setup. So yeah, if you guys are still stuck on an older or slower system, then you should probably consider switching if you want a smoother experience. I'll drop a link to the key down below if you guys want to check it out. The first setup of the day belongs to Jake, a 27-year-old welder and fabricator from the UK who likes to game and stream on the side with his friends. Just like many of us out there, he was a console peasant until just a couple of years ago when he decided to pull the trigger and get himself a gaming laptop. Safe to say, he fell in love so hard that he bought his first custom pre-built in January 2025, which effectively became the launch of his setup journey. While it might not look like it, Jake doesn't have a dedicated game room. When his son was on the way, in his own words, he got kicked out of the gaming den and had to relocate the setup into the corner of the family living room, which means every choice you see was made around fitting into a shared space without wrecking the vibe for everyone else. That's genuinely a harder constraint than building a setup on a limited budget, to be fair. Regardless of how much you spend, it still needs to look like it fits with everything else in the room. So he's running a single 49-inch Samsung Odyssey, which is the centerpiece of the setup. Everything else is basically arranged around it. The Zoom Phone Steam controller, his mic, the lights, a tablet, and even a Nintendo Switch. Technically, he could have still fit a couple of slim speakers on the desk, but he decided against them and went with some white, non-branded IEMs instead. Peripherals are a NOS C450 Mini 60% keyboard and a SteelSeries Aerox 3 wireless mouse. I really like how he arranged the cables for the keyboard and the Steam controller right below the monitor with a couple of cable clips, keeping them in place. Great job. Looking behind and underneath the desk, the cable management seems to be under control, although I'll be honest, I don't like how close the cables and the desk in general are to the wall radiator back there. Space limitations obviously play a huge role here, but I'm curious whether you actually turn the heating on during the colder months, and if so, how it affects your setup overall. Either way, I would definitely be extra cautious. Given the size of the screen, there was no space left on the desk for the PC, which is why he put it on the base with wheels and placed it underneath. As long as it's not sitting directly on the carpet, that's what counts. It is a pre-built, as mentioned before, and while we don't have all the specs, it is rocking an i7 14700K and a Gigabyte RTX 4070 Super, which is honestly enough to play most games. The positioning isn't ideal though, if you ask me. It sits a bit too close to the center of the desk when looking at it from an eye-level angle. You'd have to shift slightly to the left to sit comfortably, and there's definitely a chance of accidentally kicking the PC. Maybe mounting it on the wall could have been an option down the line, assuming of course you don't turn on the radiator. Either way, it's a great setup to kick off the show. Thank you, Jake, for participating. Setup number 2 belongs to a familiar face from Setup Wars, episode 364, Jeff from Wisconsin. While it hasn't been long since his first appearance on the show, quite a bit has happened around his setup. If you guys recall, he had this cool wooden desk before, but now he's running 2 Secret Magnus Pros instead. The reason being is that his previous desk got destroyed by water intrusion. And if you've never dealt with water damage in your home, just know it ruins everything in a 360-degree blast radius. An absolute freaking nightmare for homeowners. So unfortunately, he had to replace it with two Magnus desks and join them together into an absolutely massive working surface. And since he was rebuilding anyway, he took the opportunity to overhaul the entire basement around it, making this a full version 2. And it's just as wild as last time. He's running triple LG Ultra Gear 45-inch OLED curved monitors, side by side on Secretlab heavy-duty mounts. Compared to his last submission though, he put the right monitor in landscape mode just like the rest, covering pretty much 180 degrees of peripheral vision if you're sitting smack in the middle of it. I generally don't know what most people would do with that much screen, but Jeff uses it for spreadsheets, data analysis, team calls, World of Warcraft, and Call of Duty. I do have to say though, racing and flight simulators would probably work very well here too. The peripherals of choice are still from Corsair, including the headphones, but now, instead of the dark core mouse, he's rocking dual Logitech G502Xs, one black, one white, color-coded for work and play. Audio is a full Sonos system, a play bar up front, a Sonos sub for the lower end, and two Sonos Play 1s as surrounds. But the personal touches are what make this into a complete setup. We of course have the same cedar plank walls throughout the basement office that he installed himself. We got custom Siberian Husky and American Eskimo blueprints framed on the wall as tributes to his dogs, a rustic pipe tobacco shelf, and a leather smoking chair in the corner as a tribute to his grandfather. And something new that caught my eye right away, a Lego Dad art piece made for him by his daughter that is mounted on the wall. Beautiful stuff. Cable management did see some upgrades given that the Secretlab desk comes with their very own cable trays and magnet systems, so everything looks super tidy. The PC, however, is the same, rocking the loyal i9 14900K and RTX 4090 combo. Jeff, the water damage was unfortunately a brutal way to force an upgrade, but version 2 is definitely going to be a worthy follow-up to your office. Can't wait to see what you've got in store for us for the next one. Thank you for coming on the show. The song choice made that clip feel like the cutscene before a boss fight in a video game. The next contender in this episode is Kellogg, a bouncer from the Philippines, making him the very first confirmed bouncer we've actually featured on the show. I always see these videos on Instagram and TikTok where bouncers have the craziest, weirdest interactions with people. I wonder if you have any stories you can share with us. Let me know in the comment section down below. Anyways, this build story began over 7 years ago when Kellogg was still a measly console gamer. But one day, a good friend of his gifted him an old PC, which started everything. He then discovered Setup Wars in 2020, and fast forward to today, he built himself a setup fully from scratch, from no PC knowledge to all of this in just 6 years. He's got this very familiar layout we've seen quite often over the past few years. White 3D panels sit against the dark wall, drawing your eyes towards the setup and framing it from all sides. He's rocking stacked monitors with an ELSA 34-inch ultrawide as the main and a 24-inch Curie as the secondary. The desk surface is kept clean with only the essentials. We have a 68% Skyshy keyboard, which he pairs with 3 mice, one for productivity, one for gaming, and a third as a backup. Besides that, there is only his controller, a pair of glasses, his watch, and some fake plants. Everything else is spread out across the back wall on top of some shelves and a shelving unit. If we look underneath the desk though, we'll notice he did some custom work to hide the cables. While they are all above the ground, he went the extra mile and attached a piece of wood so they're completely hidden out of sight. Or at least that's the idea, because they're technically only hidden towards the middle. If you'd like a fully clean wireless look, I do recommend doing the same, but with a longer, narrower wooden plank. That way it won't be too oversized or reach down too far while still covering all the visible cables from left to right. And the PC powering it all is a full AMD build with a Ryzen 7 3700X and an RX 5700 XT. Either way, thank you Kellogg for submitting. The fourth setup of this episode comes all the way from Bangalore in India and belongs to Manjunath. He's a professional designer with his own construction company. So when you ask how long this setup took to build, The answer is 1 week for the custom interior design and a single day for the setup itself. Most of us would have to spend weeks, if not months on end, choosing the right shades and putting it all together. But if you have your own construction company, you can just get the crew together and finish it in the shortest amount of time. He designed the wall meticulously to house his setup. He's got a wood slat accent wall behind the desk that runs the full height on both sides, sandwiching what looks like a custom wave design in white. And when you turn the lights off, you see the hidden LED strips backlighting between the slats, highlighting that design. He also has a custom LED neon sign reading his full name off to the side, and a freaking Porsche GT4 RS rear spoiler mounted right below it. One design choice I don't understand though is the poster positioning, one being higher, very close to the ceiling, while the other sits a bit lower. We see this twice, with the anime posters to the sides of the setup, as well as the Red Bull and the BMW posters sandwiching the spoiler. Is there some hidden reason I'm not aware of? Because to my eyes, having them symmetrical on the same level would look miles better, but maybe I'm missing some important context here. We've got a stacked monitor layout with two 32-inch MSI monitors bolted to the wall. As for the desk itself, it was completely custom made with a design that also matches the low board below the Porsche spoiler. He's running a full set of Razer peripherals. We got a Huntsman V2 keyboard, a Basilisk V3 mouse, and a Black Shark V2 Pro headphones for both input and output. He didn't mention this in the submission, but those custom flip-up switches to the back right of the desk are a really cool touch and are most likely there to control the lighting and turn on the PC. It's a very small detail that elevates any setup, making it both more interesting and much easier to use. What I definitely recommend thinking about is attaching that internet router underneath the desk or somewhere else. Like, it would clean up the space up top and it won't look out of place down there either, especially since its colors differ from everything else quite a lot. The PC is no joke though, featuring an i9-13900K, an ROG RTX 4090, and 128 gigs of Trident Z DDR5 memory. The RAM is probably the most expensive thing in that build, but at the same time, the most important one as well. Given his work, he definitely needs all that memory for the rendering and design work he does. Thanks for coming on the show. Closing out the episode is another returning contestant from back in episode 295. Chris is a lawyer from Mexico who kept evolving his gaming and workroom over the past 3 years to bring it to the state we see today. For whatever reason, he submitted under the name Giovanni back then, but hey, maybe my man wants to stay anonymous. Compared to last time, the most obvious change is the switch to dark mode. He painted his whole wall black. This creates a focusing effect, directing your eyes towards the items in brighter colors, which in this case are mostly white. That includes both the setup and the items inside the shelf, which is also black. A frontal shot like that looks really cool. Besides, all those plants and green accents you see are completely real. He's got snake plants on the desk, pothos vines trailing down from the ceiling, philodendron leaves, and much more. The whole room is basically a black painted gallery with living greenery climbing across it. The foundation of the setup is a custom desk with stacked monitors attached to it. Both are 32-inch ultrawides from LG with wallpapers that fit the greenery nicely. He went with Logitech when it came to the peripherals. We got a full-size G915 in black, a white TKL version of it on the side, and a G305 mouse. He doesn't have any headphones, and all the sound comes from his Creative Pebble speakers. Considering he only plays single-player games though, that's completely fine. He did a pretty good job when it came to cable management. We don't have any shots from directly underneath the desk, but given the black wall, whatever is hanging down there probably won't be visible anyway. From what we do have though, I can see he used double-sided 3M tape to attach certain cables to the desk, which I assume he chose for the adhesive strength. However, for a much longer term solution, one that would also make it easier to swap out gear or cables down the line, cable clips or regular raceways would be the better choice here. The PC is a beautiful blacked out build with purple accent lighting, housing a Ryzen 7 5700X and RTX 4060 Ti. Honestly, those real plants are the best part of the build. There aren't too many of them, so they don't overpower the setup, but they add just enough accent color to a room drenched in such dark hues. A huge glow up from episode 295. Thank you for coming back on the show. Unfortunately, that is it for episode 379, and we are approaching episode 380. It has been a hell of a ride. I want to thank you guys for tuning in every 2 weeks or every month whenever we upload the episode. I know the schedule's kind of been sporadic because I've been focusing on getting projects done behind the scenes and also making sure our transition is going to be as smooth as possible going cross-state because, as you guys know, we're leaving California. So it's been kind of hectic back here, but I appreciate you guys being patient on the schedule of Setup Wars. Thanks for watching as always, and I will catch you most likely in the new place if you guys are only tuning in for Setup Wars. Take care.